The bold ones. E.G. Marshall, John Saxon, David Hartman, doctors expanding the horizons of the new medicine. Burl Ives, Joseph Campanella, James Farentino, lawyers defending justice in the nation's courtrooms. Leslie Nielsen, Harry Rhodes, public servants enforcing the laws of a challenging society. The bold ones.
I hope this won't take long. I'm really stacked up at the Institute.
Yeah, well, I don't see why it should. Just a nuisance.
Nuisance? I'd say a $400,000 lawsuit for malpractice and negligence is a little more than a nuisance.
Oh, it's a lot of nonsense. They haven't got a leg to stand on.
Well, maybe not. They have got Henry Spicer.
Your Honor, I have here a certified copy of the pathologist's report prepared in the coroner's office relating to postmortem findings on Julian Bethman, deceased June 24, 1968. I offer it in evidence.
Margaret, plaintiff exhibit number 21.
Thank you. According to the pathologist's report, Dr. Stewart, the autopsy revealed extensive thrombus formation, especially around the tricuspid valve. But here, read it for yourself. Do you have any reason to doubt the presence of the thrombus layers?
No.
And would you agree, doctor, that this type of clotting in and around the heart might have been the immediate cause of Mr. Bethman's death?
Well, I don't think anyone can say for sure.
Doctor, when you brought Mr. Bethman into surgery, the intention was to replace the mitral and the aortic valves of the heart with prosthetic devices. Is that correct?
Yes.
But instead of replacing 2 valves, you replaced 3.
Yes, I did.
That was very generous of you.
Objection, Your Honor.
Mr. Spicer.
Why the 3 instead of 2?
Well, after I opened the heart, I saw that the tricuspid valve was rapidly deteriorating as well.
Did the diagnostic information you had from the cardiologist indicate any such damage?
No, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't there.
Just answer my questions, doctor. Before you made this decision to insert the 3rd valve, did you confer or consult with any of your colleagues?
No.
Could you have conferred with them?
Well,
Isn't there direct communication between surgery and the director's office?
yes, there is.
How is that done?
Closed-circuit television.
Two-way voice communication?
Yes, two-way voice communication.
Then you had the means of instantaneous communication with Dr. David Craig, the head of the Institute.
Yes, it was possible.
But you didn't use it.
The operation was my responsibility.
Do you consider Dr. Craig knowledgeable in this field?
Yes, eminently knowledgeable.
He's had more experience.
Yes, of course.
Yet at this critical moment, with a man's life at stake, you blithely adopted a complicated procedure without even taking the trouble to check with Dr. Craig.
Your Honor, counsel's use of the word blithely is not only out of order, it is a calculated insult of my client.
Sustained.
Nevertheless, you didn't consult with Dr. Craig, did you?
It was my responsibility. I'm chief of surgery.
What was it, Doctor? A sense of the heroic, bravado, vanity, conceit?
Objection.
Or just immature judgment? Or was it arrogance, peacockery?
Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor.
That's enough, Mr. Spicer.
Was one man's life too small a matter to trouble about?
Your Honor.
I said enough.
Or the opportunity for the grandstand play just too rich to pass up?
Mr. Spicer, one more word and I'll find you in contempt. Objection is sustained. Mr. Spicer's remarks are stricken from the record. I warn counsel that any repetition of this type of improper examination will not be tolerated.
Get my kit from the car, Ted, and call for an ambulance.
Hi. Is he busy?
He's on the phone.
Fine, Doctor. Not at all. Nice to have talked with you. Will you ask Dr. Hunter to come to my office as soon as he's free?
Certainly. Better go in now before he gets tied up again.
Right.
Oh, good morning, Ted. What's on your mind?
I just thought I'd tell you I decided not to operate on Mrs. Slocum yet.
The infected kidney.
Yeah, I'd like to watch it a few days more.
You're not getting gun-shy, are you?
I don't think so. Vain, arrogant, conceited, yes, but gun-shy, no.
Oh, I talked with his doctor.
Spicer?
Yes, John Cassidy's been taking care of him.
Well, how is he?
He's out of intensive care, but Cassidy isn't too happy with the way he's responding.
Oh, it's probably all that bile that Spicer's carrying around in him.
That's what I like, a charitable attitude.
Well, I didn't notice any milk of human kindness inhibiting his cross-examination. He was ready to try anything.
All right. We've been through all that. He gave you a bad time.
That's like calling the Taj Mahal cute. Well, did you warn Cassidy what kind of a patient he's got?
He's not Cassidy's patient anymore. He's coming here.
You've got to be kidding.
You? Cassidy asked if we'd accept him, and I told him, of course.
But doesn't Cassidy know that Spicer was suing us? Spicer will kill him when he
It was
finds...
Spicer's idea. He requested it.
Well, I've heard of everything. But, I mean, you're not going to tell me that I'm involved with it.
No.
Dr. Hunter is here.
Ask him to come in.
Morning, David. Ted? You wanted to see me?
He certainly did. Sit down, Paul. Relax. How's your blood pressure? Have you had a checkup lately?
What's the matter with you, Ted?
Just had a call from Henry Spicer's doctor.
What's he suing him already?
He's coming here.
Spicer's doctor?
Spicer?
You've got to be kidding.
That's what I said. Wait till you hear the rest.
Like what?
Like whose patient he's going to be.
Who? No. No. Now, you can't do that to me.
He just did.
No, but why? A week ago, he called us all a bunch of witch doctors. Now, why would he want to come here?
Because he apparently thinks we're the best.
Now he says so.
He's on his way over from Bayview now. When he gets here, he's all yours.
Thanks. No, really. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Good morning. I'm Dr. Hunter. How are you feeling?
Better. Mentally, anyway. Now that I'm here. They tell me that a patient's mental attitude plays some part in his recovery.
It can help. Good morning. That'll be all, Peggy. Thank you.
How am I doing, Doc?
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to study Dr. Cassidy's reports yet. He's a fine doctor, incidentally.
But the Institute is better. In fact, the best there is. Don't you agree, Doctor?
Naturally.
I imagine you find it puzzling that I insisted on being brought here under the circumstances.
Puzzling is not exactly the word that I would have chosen.
Irritating?
You're getting warmer.
I'll let you in on a little trade secret, Doctor. I don't like some of my clients either. You know, the worst part of it is it only makes me work all the harder. Because in case I lose, I don't want to have any nagging doubts that I allowed my personal feelings to interfere. But any professional man worth his salt feels the same way. Don't you agree, Doctor?
You made your point, counselor. But it wasn't necessary.
Probably not. But it never hurts to carry a little extra insurance, does it?
You wouldn't think he'd have the guts to come here in the first place, much less act like he's trying to run the show. He practically put me on notice that from now on, he is my #1 patient.
Oh, you better believe it. One hangnail and you're on the witness stand.
No apologies. None. Trying to make us look like a bunch of quacks in court, not him. He just looked me straight in the eye like he just donated a new wing to the hospital. I really wonder how a guy like Spicer can sleep at night.
Well, with the fees he gets, I'd say in silk pajamas.
I don't think that's very funny.
I beg your pardon?
I said, I don't think that's very funny.
Well, we didn't know we had an audience, Miss,
Spicer, Jan Spicer.
Sorry.
You ought to be. That was a very rude thing to say about a very nice man. Are you Dr. Hunter?
Yes, I am. But I didn't say it. He did.
I heard what you said, too.
Can we make it up to you? Buy you a cup of coffee or something?
Well, all right.
I'll get it. No, you're his doctor. I'll get it.
Would you like to sit down?
Thank you. I just came from my father. How is he doing? And please tell me the truth.
I'll be able to give you a better answer later in the day, after we've taken some tests.
But they must have had some reason for sending him here.
I think the reason was that he asked to come here. That's what Dr. Stewart and I were discussing when you came along.
You mean because he's handling the case against the Institute?
Handling's a very mild way of putting it, Miss Spicer. Have you ever seen your father in action?
Yes. Isn't he marvelous?
I guess it depends on which side you're on.
Consider this a peace offering.
Thank you. Dr. Hunter was just explaining to me why you're so mad at Daddy.
Well, are we forgiven?
You were on the witness stand when he had his attack, weren't you?
I was indeed.
He can be pretty much of a tiger, but that's because he believes in what he's doing.
Well, you'll forgive me if I don't agree with him. I mean, at least not this time.
He's really a very nice man once you get to know him. Outside of court, I mean.
And he has a loyal daughter, which is as it should be.
Dr. Hunter wanted in the cath lab.
Excuse me, they're ready for me in the lab. Nice to have met you, Miss Spicer.
Thank you. About my father.
Don't worry, we'll take good care of him. We're going to start some tests now. Bye. See you, Ted. It doesn't look good. There's been a lot more damage to the myocardium than we suspected. It's not responding to treatment at all. And I don't like the fact he's got a low cardiac output, which is fixed.
No question, there's been severe damage to the heart muscles, much greater than Cassidy's report indicated. Why don't we try a diastolic augmentation?
Well, it might help, but the condition seems irreversible to me, David.
Cardiac emergency, number 2.
2. That's Spicer.
Flatline. Start the burn. Get some bicarb going.
Bicarb ready.
Draw me up 5 cc's of epinephrine. Set it on 300. Stand back. Benny. Again. Stand back. Ready? Again.
Nothing yet.
Set it up to 400. Ready?
Better put him on the thumper.
Hold it. There it is. He's taking hold. Yeah, he's holding good and strong.
doing, Doc?
Just keep breathing normally.
In other words, not so good, huh?
In other words, if you don't stop talking, we're going to have to do this whole thing over. Note the erratic electrical response.
What about medication?
No response to that either. He's slowly but steadily weakening.
What do you recommend?
Surgery. I have no other choice, David.
All right. Just be sure Spicer is aware of all the facts before you ask for his authorization.
I sure will. As for what we're sure of, there's been extensive and irreversible damage to your heart muscle.
Irreversible? That sounds pretty final.
It means that the damage can't be reversed by therapy or medication. What I'm here for is to ask your authorization for surgery, a resection of the heart muscle.
In civilian language?
The diseased tissue is trimmed off, cut away, tidied up so that only the good working muscle is left. This operation requires the use of a heart-lung machine. I'd also like authorization to use a heart booster pump to aid in the recovery period.
Surgery, huh? That brings up an interesting question.
What's that?
He didn't.
Oh, yes, he did.
Wait a minute, I can understand his coming here for general care, but are you absolutely sure?
Of course I'm sure. He just told me. He wants you to do the operation. Well, I guess he figured he had the law of averages working for him. I mean, a surgeon of your reputation. Chances are pretty good you won't blow two in a row.
Now that you two are even, can we discuss the merits of the case? Look, I can understand your reluctance to expose yourself to further abuse.
Wait a minute, it's not that. I'm not being temperamental. I just don't think he'd want to be under the care of a doctor he's publicly accused of being incompetent. It just doesn't make sense.
Apparently it does to him.
Even Ted Williams struck out occasionally. And he was the greatest hitter I ever saw.
I don't think it's quite the same thing, Mr. Spicer. No, for the good of the patient, I think he should have complete confidence in the surgeon. In his ability and in his judgment.
I do.
Then you didn't really mean those things you said about me in court?
What I believe doesn't matter. My job is to present my client's case to the best of my ability.
Even if you think it's unjustified?
It wouldn't be ethical for me to discuss it with you, Doctor.
But you don't think it's unethical to call me a quack?
I didn't use that word. Would have antagonized the jury. But I said nothing that implied you were a congenital bumbler. It referred to exactly what the plaintiff claimed. That at that particular time, in that particular case, you were wrong, for which it was perfectly correct to call you to account. Before I ever put you on the stand, Doctor, I built up a dossier on you that would choke a horse. It's that dossier that makes me pick you now.
Hello, Daddy.
Hi, honey.
Just talking to Dr. Hunter about your operation.
Nothing to worry about, honey. It's just a little repair job. Everything's going to be all right. Doctor and I have just been discussing it. Oh, you've met Dr. Stewart, my surgeon?
Yes, we've met.
I'll go over Dr. Hunter's tests with him, and if I decide to go ahead, we'll operate in the morning. Don't worry, your father's right. It's just a repair job.
My daughter, the worrier.
David, are you with me?
Yes, Ted.
It's much worse than we bargained for. The mass of myocardium to be excised is too large, especially the entire left ventricle's involved. There wouldn't be enough good tissue left to sustain him.
Ted, I'm coming over.
Dr. Andrews.
All right, let's cannulate.
Ted, the monitor. Ventricular tach. Uh-oh, fibrillation. Better give me an amplifier.
Defibrillator. Give me 50. Stand back. 50.
Nothing yet, Ted.
Well, I think we better get on the pump.
I'm with you.
Pete, Paul, are you ready on the pump?
Ready, Ted. Whenever you are.
Okay, let's go.
We're on partial bypass.
Looks good here, and we're up to full flow.
Pressure looks good, Ted.
All right, let's go on full bypass.
We're on full bypass. Looks just fine.
We've got him on the pump. I'm going to open the heart and take a look inside.
Turn up pump 2. Clamp.
Touch him. Mm-hmm. Paul, the artificial heart.
Wait a minute, Ted. He didn't authorize.
The pump's keeping him alive. It's the only thing that is.
You can't be that sure.
Damn it, Dave, I am sure. Look, at least with the artificial heart, we'll have some time to find a donor and give him a transplant.
You know his tissue type, 1 in 100,000.
It doesn't matter. It's the only chance we've got, I guarantee it.
You know what you're letting yourself in for?
I know he'll die if I don't try it.
All right, Ted. Go ahead.
All right, aortic cross clamp. All right, scissors. All right, back. I need more room. Now watch. Force this. I'm cutting the aorta, the pulmonary artery. All right, the artificial heart. All right, let's tie up those bleeders, huh? Suture. Let's soft the ventricles, continue suture to the atrium. Okay. Let's stick the ventricles in position. Just let's tie a few to the ribs to hold them. Brain function?
I've got him on 10 EEG channels and brain oxygen consumption. Computer correlation looks good. Patient's just fine.
So I increase the beat rate and the pressure percentage. Start weaning him off the heart. Let's start weaning him off the pump. All right, we're starting the artificial heart at 5, 10 beats. Okay, he's 40-60. He's 50-50. 70-30. He's 10% on the heart-lung machine, 90% on the artificial heart. Okay, Jack, anytime you're ready. All right, Pete, shut it off. We're going off the pump completely. Easy, take it slow. We are off the pump.
Pressure's 120 over 80, venous is 18, and we're about 400 cc's to the table.
Looks great, Ted. Just great.
Good work, Ted. Congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you, David.
Irony Department. Henry Spicer, noted legal eagle, whose malpractice case against Dr. Ted Stewart and the Craig Institute of New Medicine, with which Dr. Stewart is affiliated, was interrupted by a heart attack, was operated on yesterday by, are you ready for this, the same Ted Stewart.
I've been wondering when they'd get a hold of this ever since Spicer got here.
We are really going to be working in a goldfish bowl from now on. Now, if Spicer doesn't make it...
Well, at least this time, if he sues for malpractice, Ted won't be alone. He did the implant with my permission.
You know, I had a feeling in about 10 more seconds he was going to go ahead and do it anyway.
So did I.
How am I doing, Doc? Did you fix up my heart?
Too late for that, Mr. Spicer. We had to give you a substitute.
Transplant?
No, not yet. That'll be the next step as soon as we get a donor.
I don't follow you.
Mr. Spicer, your heart was beyond corrective surgery. It was just too beat up to repair. So we put in a plastic one temporarily.
You're not serious.
Yes, I'm serious.
Isn't that something new?
Yes.
I don't recall giving Dr. Hunter permission for such a procedure.
You didn't.
You made the decision to do it, didn't you?
That's right.
When did you make that decision?
Mr. Spicer, after I opened you up, I saw the condition of your heart. I could actually touch and feel how deteriorated the muscle was.
You mean you thought it was the only chance I had?
I knew it was the only chance you had.
You're the doctor.
Well, I'm glad you agree.
Sure seems funny, though. Like that someone just got your heart and threw it away.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we didn't throw it away. We're trying to fix it. As a matter of fact, someday you just may get to use it again.
You're putting me on.
No, I'm not.
This is science fiction stuff.
Yeah, but so was a simple heart transplant a few years ago. Would you be interested in seeing how it works?
In cases of severely diseased or damaged hearts, which can't be corrected by medication or surgical procedures, there's a third technique being worked on here at the Craig Institute of New Medicine. It consists of revitalizing the diseased heart by surgically removing it from the patient and placing it in a cooled bionutrient solution, while the patient is maintained by either a transplanted heart or an artificial heart. You're looking at a calf's heart being kept alive and beating in this nutrient solution, where cultured heart muscle cells are applied to the damaged sections of the heart, helping to revitalize and replace the damaged parts. Here you see two individual heart muscle cells, each beating at a different rate. Soon they join up and connect, synchronizing their beat at the rate of the fastest one. Now we see hundreds of such heart muscle cells, some from the original diseased heart, plus the new ones we have added, all working together to revitalize the heart so that it may eventually be returned to its owner. So far, this whole process is still in the experimental stage, yet there is cause for hope that someday it may be used successfully on man.
Amazing.
Yeah? Any questions?
Just one. Has it worked?
With animals. We haven't tried it yet with people. Well, somebody's got to be the first one. Might be you, with full permission, of course.
You mean, if it works on my heart in that fishbowl, even after I've had a transplant, you might want to take out the transplant and put my own heart back in?
Well, that'll be something to think about if and when the time comes. And if the process isn't perfected soon enough for you, it will be someday for somebody. Like everything else, it's just a matter of time.
You know something? I believe you.
Yes. Tissue type AB negative. HLA 2358. Leukocytes double
Craig
negative.
Institute for New Medicine. Yes, notify at once. Thank you.
Any luck at all?
Not yet. We've been in touch with every major hospital around the country. Canada, even Mexico and Hawaii. With his tissue type, you know the chances.
Well, there'll be some newspapermen here. Give them everything they want. The TV people, too.
Yes, sir.
Do you need more help?
No, I think we've got everything we need.
Except time.
No donor yet.
No, but we're still trying. Don't worry, you're doing fine.
Yeah, but for how long? Any luck with the old heart?
No, not yet. That's too early to tell him things like that.
Doc, you know, I'm not exactly a dumbcoff in the medical jungle. I know what's going on.
Do you?
Sure, this plastic gizmo is pumping along fine, but what it's doing to the rest of my frame is something else, and you know it.
Well, I tell you, we really haven't had enough experience to know exactly what's happening.
Nuts. It's playing hell with my blood cells and probably a lot of other things, and you know that, too.
No, I told you we really don't know for sure.
Okay. What's my outside limit? Another week? 2?
I don't know that exactly.
You know, I've been doing a lot of thinking lying here. Guess everybody does in a spot like this. You know, adding up the score, pluses, minuses. The only thing I'll regret is leaving Jan. He's got an aunt and an uncle back east, but it's not the same.
Mr. Spicer, I told you, we're still trying for a donor.
If I could just squeeze out a few more years until she gets to be a little older. Well, we all do the best we can. End of philosophizing. Ask Jan to come back in, will you? I can't stand to let her out of my sight for too long.
Sure.
And Doc, keep trying, will you?
Well, that's what we've been expecting. Actually, I'm amazed he stood up as well as he has.
Well, changes are barely perceptible, but they're there.
From this point on, we can expect an acceleration. What do you think, Ted?
I'm never kidding myself, Dave. I'm losing him.
Well, I think we've covered everything. Yes?
Dr. Craig, we've located a donor.
Where?
St. Louis. But Dr. Craig, there's a problem.
What is it?
The hospital in St. Louis says the potential donor has a history of emphysema.
Tell them to get him here, Nancy, by chartered plane, fast. Just get him here.
I've called the Vital Organ Transplant Committee, and unavoidably, on terribly short notice, because we find ourselves faced with a dilemma. Occasionally, and this is one of those occasions, we of the medical profession find ourselves faced with problems that transcend the accepted compass of our profession. These problems may involve social, moral, ethical, perhaps religious areas in which we feel we must seek advice and guidance from those outside our rather parochial field. That's the reason for this committee's existence. That, plus the unselfish and dedicated interest of you present. We're always in your debt. Dr. Stewart will give you the facts.
The patient's name is Henry M. Spicer, age 50, profession lawyer. Mr. Spicer was admitted to the Institute after suffering a massive myocardial infarction on May 16th. Since admission, he's suffered 2 more MIs, both severe. After the last, he suffered cardiac arrest and he couldn't be resuscitated. His heart was removed. He's now being maintained with an artificial heart.
Mr. Spicer's tissue type is of the rarest, but we have found a donor. There are 3 elements about the potential donor that caused us to call this meeting. First, his age. He was 44 years old, which means that there may be significant but undetected signs of coronary artery disease. Second, he has a history of emphysema. And third, he had been supported by vasopressors, which may have had a deleterious effect upon the organ. Our problem, and we pray you can help us solve it, is this. Can we go ahead and implant what may be an imperfect heart?
Dr. Craig, was emphysema the cause of death?
No. Death was caused by an accident. The heart is beating and being maintained artificially.
Is there any evidence that the donor's heart was affected by the disease?
Paul?
Our preliminary examination has not shown any cardiac involvement, no.
Well, just how extensive was your examination?
The donor has been in the hospital less than 3 hours.
Can you be absolutely sure the heart isn't involved?
I couldn't be certain without a great deal of further study.
We don't have time.
Dr. Craig, out of your experience in cases such as this, can the heart become a diseased heart?
Yes.
Chances are, then, as you call it, this is an imperfect heart.
Perhaps, yes.
Then I don't think there's even a question. It's my opinion that this heart should not be used as a transplant.
Now, just a minute. I think we should explore this a little further.
I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Slidell. If you went ahead with this imperfect heart and it didn't work, the press would leap on it. Mr. Spicer is always news. They'd eat it up. I think you have to find another donor.
But perhaps you don't fully comprehend what Dr. Craig is saying. Mr. Spizer's tissue type is rare. It's so damned rare, we may not see another donor of this type for months. Many months. You know, somehow we've been presented with a miracle. We have no acceptable alternative. We must use this heart.
Dr. Stewart, Mr. Spicer is your patient?
Yes, sir.
Have you had a chance to talk to him about this problem since you discovered that the donor heart is possibly diseased?
Yes, I have.
What is his attitude?
Is it all right, Dave? Hello. Would you send Miss Spicer in, please? Thank you. I won't answer that question, but I have someone here who will. This is Mr. Spizer's daughter, Miss Jan Spicer. Miss Spicer, the question has just been asked. What is your father's attitude about receiving what possibly may be an imperfect heart?
My father says this, and these are his own words. Let me win this one. I'll fight tomorrow's battles tomorrow.
It's going to be great to get outside again, beyond these walls. Back to the air flavored with pollution, back to people marching and rioting, the cold crunch of the new snow, back to ugly signboards, deodorant commercials, and fire, flame sunsets.
Now that's a mixed bag.
That's life.
Boy, you've been a case.
I bet. You handled it pretty good, though.
Well, for a guy with immature judgment, arrogance, and peacockering.
Shows how you've matured. Tell me, assuming that everything in here keeps on working right, when can I expect to resume my practice?
Oh, you'll be up to it in about 8 weeks, but you're going to have to tone down your style for a while, at least until you get your strength back.
No more intimidating witnesses?
That's exactly what I mean.
I'll keep it in mind, Doctor. Meanwhile, thanks for everything. I want you to know how much I appreciate all you've done.
Well, you were a patient. We had a job to do. Simple as that.
I'm glad you feel that way. Nevertheless, from the bottom of my rather imperfect heart, I thank you all again.
But there's nothing wrong with my heart, and I feel the same way.
Well, you can get up now. You're not our responsibility anymore.
Oh. That's kind of a silly rule, isn't it? Having to be wheeled out?
Not at all. If you got faint and fell down, you might sue us.
Oh, that reminds me. This is for you.
This is a subpoena.
We never finished that case, remember? He goes back in the docket again 8 weeks from now. Like you said, we all have our job to do. See you in court.
Well, gentlemen, let's get back to work.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Now, over the carbon black, we apply chromotherm, which consists of colorless crystals and a petroleum base. The solvent evaporates very quickly, and then, as you can see, the colors begin to appear. The warmest areas appear in shades of blue, the next warmest in shades of green, and the cooler areas get down into yellows and reds. This gives us a precise picture of the thermal profile of capillaries, veins, and arteries.
Has this technique ever been used before, Dr.
Oh, yes, the last few years, but never very extensively, and never before on astronauts.
Dr. Stewart, just what does this do for the physical condition?
You mean, what does it show? Well, chromotherm can help us spot areas where the body's fighting infection. It tells us where there may be a restricted flow of blood, and it gives us a graphic picture of the effects of certain drugs.
That'll do it, Walt. You can go get yourself cleaned up now.
Okay. When the astronauts come back from the mission, we'll make another set of chromotherm pictures to see if being in outer space has had any effect on the skin and subcutaneous blood flow. And this is of great importance in an area of research in which Dr. Stewart is pioneering: the implications of space flight on emergency surgical procedures.
Yeah, incidentally, you may be interested to know that chromotherm will be taken on the mission. They'll use it on the lunar rocks and the soil to, well, maybe we'll know something that we never knew about the surface of the moon. Walt, could you put the eye protector?
Dr. Stewart, how long will the astronauts be here at the Institute?
3 days. Well, 3 days, but of course they've undergone extensive examinations in Houston. We're kind of rechecking them because nobody's been in outer space, well, anywhere near as long as these men will be. And, well, as you know, this is the last chance to recover the experimental packages which were left previously on the moon, while they're still valid. The mission's very important. So important that the men have been cross-trained to perform each other's jobs if necessary.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Thank you, Dr. Craig and Dr. Hunter. The latest word from Mission Control is that the launch is expected to be made on schedule. Until then, and during the entire mission, the eyes of the world will be on Emmons, Mackenzie, and Carter. 3 men bound for the moon.
No. No. No.
Mike. Mike.
No.
Mike, it's all right. It's all right. It was just a dream.
It was so real. Wow. Sure nice to find out I'm here.
Mike, there's something we have to talk about. You haven't been sleeping as well as you should. Don't you think you should talk to the doctors about it?
Nothing for them to do. It's that old devil moon. He knows I'm coming up there to walk around on him. And he's put the whammy on me.
You'll be spending a lot of time here because we're going to measure the quantity and quality of everything in your blood, and that's a pretty tall order.
A little more than half your blood consists of plasma. The remainder contains 3 types of elements in suspension: red corpuscles, which transport oxygen; white corpuscles, which defend the body against infection; and platelets, which assist in the clotting of the blood.
As a matter of fact, there are so many diagnostic clues in the chemistry of the blood that Dr. Holt will be using a computer to coordinate and analyze your test findings.
Remind you of anything, Walt?
It sure does. The way the moon looks through the optics in outer space, huh?
I've just seen pictures, but one thing's for sure, that's beautiful blood you got.
It sure is. Dr. Holt, if you can get a copy of that picture, I'd like you to autograph it for me.
You're on.
Well, gentlemen, see you later.
You're in very good hands.
Yeah, a lot prettier than the flight surgeon in Houston.
We'll start your tests with the blood gas analyzer. It determines the proportion of dissolved gases in your blood. Doctor.
Well, hello.
I'm Ann Carter, Doctor. Mike's wife.
I'm very glad to meet you, Mrs. Carter. I understand from the news broadcast that you're visiting here in town while Mike's with us.
Yes, I'll be staying with my folks during the mission. I hope you'll forgive me for coming in here to wait, but I didn't want Mike to see me.
Oh?
I'll come right to the point, Doctor. No, perhaps at first I should... Had this completely rehearsed. Had it memorized word for word. It runs exactly 1 minute and 10 seconds. I timed it. Now I don't know how to begin.
Well, why not begin by explaining why you don't want your husband to know you're here?
I don't think Mike should go on this mission, Dr. Hunter. I've
come to ask you to see that he gets scrubbed.
Heart surgery in a weightless environment? Doesn't seem feasible, at least not now.
No, but recovery from cardiac surgery does. I mean, we still have to work the heart in order to prevent atrophy of the muscles, but if we can keep the G loads down, I think the patient would recover faster in weightlessness. You could bring the heart back to normal at a slower, safer rate of speed and space.
You know, we've just begun to scratch the surface of possible medical fallout from the space program.
Spin-offs from space? No, it's a new world, David. Not only in medicine. Say, what was it Mike Collins said after Apollo 11?
I hope that one of the byproducts of the space program will be to use the benefits of our technology to preserve and protect our planet. The ultrasonic scan turned out very well, Paul.
Good. Now, that's what I call a strong heart. Emmons?
Hey, how'd you guess?
Well, the Houston test showed he had a bit more stamina than the others. That's the kind of heart he'd have.
Hey, you guessed wrong. It's Mackenzie. It's kind of hard all three of them have.
They're really in great shape.
Carter isn't, according to his wife. She claims he has problems the psychiatrist missed.
What kind of problems?
Emotional. Mike's the first black man to go to the moon. According to Mrs. Carter, he's carrying the rest of the black people on his shoulders. That extra pressure, responsibility he feels. Well, she thinks it's too much for him. He's had trouble sleeping. He's been moody.
Did you check with Dr. Shedler in Houston on it?
David, look. If Mike is scrubbed because of an emotional hang-up, he'd be through as an astronaut. But if he's scrubbed because of a minor medical reason, there wouldn't be any stigma. He'd eventually get another mission. That's why his wife came to see us. Also, at this juncture, the mission wouldn't be affected. The crew could be replaced, and Mike would get his chance when he's ready for it.
But, Paul...
I know it. We've got to talk to the flight surgeon, but tactfully, David. And you know him a lot better than I do.
I got a date in OR. Let me know what Dr. Shedler's reaction is about this, huh?
Well, as you know, David, our psychiatrist gave them all the full treatment. Apperception, reaction to the absence of external stimuli, the works. And nobody ever questioned Mike Carter's stability.
His wife does, Clay. She didn't want this to get back to you, but of course we had no choice. It was Paul who spoke with her.
Clay, apparently he's had trouble sleeping.
They all have trouble sleeping when they get down to the starting line. They're too busy going over everything themselves, their training, the hardware. Is that all?
She said he's been moody.
I've known Mike Carter for years. I've known him well. He's not the moody type.
I can tell you that Ted and I haven't noticed the slightest trace of moodiness.
Nor has anyone else here.
But Mrs. Carter feels that he's developed anxiety because he's black. The extra pressure.
Take another look at our psychiatric reports. He has remarkable insight.
Clay. Could it be Mrs. Carter who's developed anxiety and projected her own feelings on Mike?
That could be. How'd she seem to you, Paul?
A little flustered at first, but not at all irrational.
Well, keep an eye on Mike. If you even suspect that he's uptight, you let me know.
We'll get back to you later, Clay. Goodbye. Well, you and Ted are going to be a lot closer to these tests than I am. So it's up to the two of you.
Yeah. But if we have to call Clay again about Mike, I'm afraid he'd be through as an astronaut.
Let's hope we don't have to.
That guy's uptight. I'd sure like to see him when he's relaxed.
Yeah, you think they would show some anxiety?
Oh, a trip to the moon coming up. They might as well be going around the corner for groceries.
Mike. Mike. It's all right, Mike. Where were you?
I was in a little room. Alone. It was so dark, you couldn't see a thing. Somebody came running into the room. He was chasing me. I started running, and then all of a sudden, I froze. I couldn't move. Couldn't even lift a foot.
Take a look at the T waves on his EKG. We think we ought to replace the pulmonary valve, too. That would make it a 3-valve job.
I agree. Do you have a team in Tulsa that can handle it?
We're all set to go. Just wanted your concurrence, David.
Fine, Danny. Let us know how you make out.
Thanks, David.
Got the heart function series and the chromotherm results worked up.
Wow. Beautiful circulation, all three of them.
Beautiful everything. They're in perfect condition.
Carter's up to the others in every respect?
Yes, he is. A little ahead in some ways because he's younger.
No signs of emotional stress, tension?
Nope.
None.
Mrs. Michael Carter to see you, Dr. Craig.
Ask her to come in.
Hello, Mrs. Carter.
Dr. Hunt. Sorry for interrupting, Dr. Craig, but when I found out Dr. Hunter was with you,
I've been hoping to meet you, Mrs. Carter. Oh, this is Dr. Stewart. He knows about your talk with Dr. Hunter. You can speak freely.
How do you do, Mrs. Carter?
Does Mike know about our talk? Did you tell him too?
No, I didn't. But we decided we did have to tell Dr. Shedler.
I see.
He's an old friend. It's on a very informal basis. Oh, won't you sit down, Mrs. Carter?
Thank you. Dr. Craig, last night Mike woke up in a cold sweat. He was terrified.
Come in.
Well. Oh. Walt Emmons said he thought he saw you coming in here.
Yes, Mike.
What's this all about, Dr. Craig?
Just getting acquainted.
Mind if I join you?
Not at all. Won't you sit down?
Honey, it occurs to me that if your folks didn't live here, you'd be in Houston with the other wives. You must have an awful good reason for being here.
Mike, I tried to talk to you.
Well, your coming here can't do me any good. You can see that.
Mrs. Carter, Mike knows how disturbed you've been. What happened last night, he told us that it upset you more than it did him.
You told them about that?
Yes, I thought it was something they ought to know.
We've compared notes with Emmons and Mackenzie. You should hear about the nightmares they've been having.
Mrs. Carter, I'm not going to tell you not to worry about Mike, because all of us are going to be worrying about all three of them until they're safely back. But I can tell you this. Mike is as qualified as any of the others.
In every respect, Mrs. Carter. We're convinced of it.
And you know how much this means to me.
You know how much you mean to me.
Ignition sequence start. Engines running. Liftoff. We have liftoff. 23 minutes past the hour. Tower cleared. Roger. Ground tracking confirms. We have a roll program. Altitude is 2 miles. Staging. Apollo, this is Houston. You're bending the axis on schedule. Your stay for T1. Roger, Houston. Our computer shows we're in 60-mile lunar orbit.
And now, 4 days into the mission, everything is still going smoothly. There will be 2 more days of lunar orbiting to allow the Earth tracking stations to pinpoint the precise orbit prior to separation and landing operations. And then comes the most critical phase when Walt Emmons and Mike Carter land on the moon in the lunar module, while Ed McKenzie continues orbiting in the spacecraft. The 3 astronauts are now in excellent condition after a quick recovery from what appeared to be a touch of the flu. A constant check on their health is being made at the Craig Institute as well as Mission Control. Electrodes
What have I missed?
attached to the
Nothing.
astronauts gather information which
The live broadcast from the spacecraft will be on soon, though.
Electrocardiograms are monitored at regular intervals as well as the heart rate and respiratory rate. These visual diagnostic checks or readouts are available at all times except when the spacecraft goes behind the moon and loses line of sight transmission to Earth. During those periods, approximately 45 minutes in each orbit, no communications of any sort are possible. Mission Control reports, we have again acquired the signal and we will now have a live broadcast from the spacecraft.
Houston, this is Apollo. How are we doing on video?
We've got a fabulous picture of the back of Mike's head.
Mike, I've got the fabulous back of the head shot. You want to tell the folks something about what you're doing, Mike?
Yeah. Lunar landmark tracking.
Mike, would you refer to the Department of Fuller Explanation, please?
These are the optics.
And this is the computer that correlates our findings.
Mike was grinning and making jokes yesterday. He's tightened up today, Ted.
Maybe some physical discomfort from the antibiotics. I've got a plane to catch. A consultation at Lorraine Clinic. See you tomorrow.
If you want something, Ed, why don't you ring for the stewardess? This is sheer luxury compared to that Mercury flight. That Mercury's so small, we didn't fly it, we wore it.
Well, they haven't tightened up, have they? They have the antibiotics, too.
You okay, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Get any sleep?
Off and on. I tell you, I'm okay.
Yeah, well, I better check with the surgeon.
He says he's all right. A couple of hours ago, he had a headache, mild nausea, a little lightheaded.
I've got to talk to him myself.
Put him on, Walt.
Roger.
I'm all right, Doc. Very mild nausea and lightheadedness. No worse than before. I figure it was those antibiotic pills. Walt had a reaction to.
Mike, I'll make the diagnosis. That's what I'm here for. Put him on cyclazine, Walt, and I'll get back to you. As a matter of fact, let's play it safe. All 3 of you take cyclazine.
Good morning. In place of the live broadcast from the spaceship scheduled for this time, we will show highlights from previous broadcasts. The reason for this is that one of the astronauts, Mike Carter, is feeling slightly below par. Mission Control has given an overriding priority to this development. Though Dr. Clay Shedler, the flight surgeon, feels there is no need for concern at this time.
Did he respond to the cyclozine?
Seemed to be taking effect. Then they went back to the moon and we lost contact. That was about 40 minutes ago.
You still think it was the antibiotics?
What else could it be? Everything else looked okay except the pulse, and that was just a shade below his normal.
I just heard about Mike on TV. Is it serious?
Not at all, according to last reports.
If it is serious, Doctor, I'd like to know, please.
Mild nausea and headache, nothing more.
And the nausea started subsiding an hour ago.
Can I wait here? I want to be as close to Mike as I can.
Sure.
They're patching us in so we can get on a direct line to the spacecraft if necessary.
Apollo, this is Houston. It's still badly garbled, Ed. Try again and give us video, too.
Houston, this is Apollo. Don't wait for video. We have an emergency. Do you read me? We have an emergency.
Roger, Apollo.
Mike seemed okay, so he and Walt suited up and checked out the limb. Mike was back getting out of his spacesuit when we lost contact with Walt. Walt had passed out in the limb. We got him, but he's still out.
Pulse is within his normal, but his lips are slightly blue, and he's wheezing.
Apollo, this is Clay Shedler. Keep giving him oxygen under pressure. We'll get back to you.
Roger.
Remove the mask, Mike. Now, pull up on his eyelid again. Up as far as you can. That's it. Ed, can you get the camera a little closer to the eye? Oops, out of focus.
Best I can do up this close, Doc.
Now come back a little, slowly. Oop, hold it there. Put him back on the mask. We've got to keep him well ventilated.
Roger.
Peggy, anything coming in to give us a clue?
Not a thing. No change on the EKG. Heart rate's the same.
Let me take a look at that last computer printout.
Doctor, I'm going to phone Mary Emmons, Walt's wife. What can I tell her?
Tell her, well, we're doing everything we can, and so's Mike.
You don't think it's too much for him? The strain, the uncertainty.
Mrs. Carter, Mike's doing just great. Excuse me, will you? I've gone over the biomed data on everything sent down from the spacecraft since launch. There aren't any leads.
You checked out the environmental control system?
Yeah, everything looks good. Cabin pressure, oxygen, temperature, everything.
Ted, did you compare his last EKG with the ones made when he was here?
Yeah, no change.
Craig, this is Houston. Dr. Shedler. Have you completed your review of the tests on Emmons?
Just a few more printouts to check, Clay. So far, we've drawn a blank. How much more time do we have?
Lunar landing scheduled for 12 hours from now. If he's not out of it shortly, the landing phase will be aborted and they'll be ordered back.
Yes, Clay, but if Emmons is still out...
I know. The re-entry acceleration might aggravate his condition.
Clay, we don't know what it might do.
Well, staying in lunar orbit might not help him either. I mean, it's a calculated risk any way you look at it.
Yeah, but if we can determine what happened to him and snap him out of it, he'd certainly recuperate a lot faster if they stay in a weightless condition at 0 G.
We'll keep studying all possible trade-offs. Call me as soon as you've gone over the rest of the data.
Right, Clay.
You know, I still think it was the cyclazine. It might have triggered some unknown allergic reaction.
Peggy studied every chemical that got into his blood. Everything he ate, everything he breathed. I don't know. Or maybe it was a sequence that did it.
You may be right. You know, somewhere along the line, it might have been a combination and a response that went haywire.
We have got to have a blood sample.
Yeah, but the patient is 240,000 miles away.
And they don't have the equipment. But we have it. And since we can't get Walt Emmons' blood, then we'll just have to get it from someone who has the same blood type and then modify it to approximate Walt's present blood chemistry.
I'll check out potential candidates.
Wait a minute, Peg. Walt Emmons' blood type and mine are the same. Let's go to work.
Now give him the antibiotic. Now the cyclazine, Peggy.
6 drops per minute.
I heard about Emmons on the cab radio and got the first plane back.
The answer has to be in Emmons' blood chemistry, so we're doctoring mine up to approximate his.
We're giving him every substance Emmons has ingested since he's been in the spacecraft.
In sequence.
Over how long a period of time?
10 hours. Everything Emmons ate, all medication.
He's been ingesting one thing or another 24 hours a day for several days. You're trying to cram all that into 10 hours? It could kill you.
We eliminated unreactive elements. Cut the recipe down to 47 items.
Computer's giving us the right time adjustment, David.
We're watching the EEG and the EKG very closely, David. I'm okay. Just a little headache and a mild nausea, that's all.
Just like Emmons. What if he goes out like Emmons and you still haven't come up with the answer?
If there's any indication that the EEG waveform characteristics are changing...
In case of a traumatic drop-off, you wouldn't even see the trend line. It'd be like an on and off switch. Ted.
Well, what do we do if Mike and Ed go out like Emmons?
Well, under the circumstances, I suppose this is the only course you could have taken. But why did you have to be the guinea pig?
Because my blood type matches Emmons. And there's so little time, David, less than 4 hours. I thought I might speed up the process by interpreting these symptoms subjectively.
How many of those items has he had?
31.
I want the EEG printout and the blood chemistry analysis on any change, no matter how small.
We're still weighing the trade-offs, but even if Walt comes out of it soon, we think we ought to scrub the landing phase.
Scrub the landing phase? Why? I mean, if Walt's okay, why can't we complete the mission? Am I getting through? I asked the question. If Walt's okay, why can't we go ahead?
We'll let you know as soon as we come to a final decision.
You said you were weighing all trade-offs. I thought you might want my opinion.
We will want it, Mike, but not yet.
There still isn't any change. Not a sign of abnormality.
How many items have you given?
I just put in the last one.
EEG, blood, and everything else still normal. I just feel a little sluggish, that's all.
I've been going over this computer printout of the log of the entire mission. When Emmons checked out the lunar module, he was in his spacesuit for over an hour. Something he was breathing then could have done it.
Yeah, but Mike was in the LEM suit loop, too, and he wasn't affected.
He returned to the command module first, didn't he?
Yeah.
It had to be something extremely toxic and insidious to affect Walt in those few minutes after Mike left him in the LEM.
Oxygen. Maybe it was contaminated.
I suppose Walt could have ingested too much hydrogen gas from the water produced by the fuel cell. Or maybe he was breathing too much carbon monoxide or ozone. Peggy, hydrogen.
Hydrogen. No overt reaction.
Carbon monoxide.
Potential suppression of central nervous system in the presence of ammonium chloride and cyclazine.
Ozone.
Ozone. Potential respiratory irritant.
Still could be either one.
Yeah, but Mike breathed the same mixture. And the extra time that Walt spent in the LEM suit, Luke couldn't have made the difference.
What if outgassed hydrocarbon reacted on the lithium hydroxide in the air purification canister?
Well, that could produce dichloroacetylene. That could put him out in a hurry. If that's it, he ought to respond to isoproterenol hydrochloride and epinephrine.
They have both of those in their medical kit.
No, it's too risky to give him any more drugs. Particularly since we're not sure that it was dichloroacetylene, or what amount he might have ingested in that brief period of time. We've got a hypothesis. Now we have to prove it.
Well, that's what a guinea pig's for.
No. That's one risk we're not going to take.
Oh, come on, David. I've had the rest of the cocktail. Now give me the twist.
All right, Peggy. Now inject just a small amount into the air purification canister.
Yes, Doctor.
All set with the antidote, Paul?
Just about. Okay, Dave.
Looks like our hunch was right. It is reacting on the lithium hydroxide granules. That's it. Remove the mask.
Ready with the oxygen, Dave.
Blood sample.
Dr. Craig? Paul? Those platelets and red cells.
The antidote. No doubt about it now. It was the dichloroacetylene.
Come on, Mike. Take it easy.
You'd think they'd have come up with something by now. Well, wouldn't you? They've had plenty of time. What are they doing down there?
Okay.
Dad, there's no need to tell you how we all feel about what you did.
We know the problem and we verified the antidote, but we still haven't helped Walt.
About the antidote, Clay. We just got the final computer evaluations in. There's a slight change in the optimum proportions.
I'm gonna let you people talk direct to the astronauts. Incidentally, they've been trained to give injection by needle or subcutaneous injector pad. Take your pick.
Houston, Houston.
Do you read me?
Loud and clear, Mike.
Is Dr. Shedler on?
Yeah, I'm here, Mike. How's Walt?
I think you'd better see for yourself.
Isn't there something we can give him?
I'm gonna turn you over to Dr. Craig, Mike. Ed, get the medical kit.
Roger.
How does his EKG compare to those taken earlier?
Looks good, no change.
Heart rate's okay.
I sure hate to try this without an EEG. It's too risky unless we know how his brain's reacting.
Ted's blood approximates his, but it's not his. Those drugs could aggravate his condition, cause brain damage. Ed, get the camera as close up to Walt as you can. We just can't without an EEG. In his condition...
There isn't much of an alternative, though, is there? If they bring him back, we can't be sure he could take the acceleration of re-entry.
There's one alternative, chromotherm. They've got some with them.
Clay, did you hear that?
Chromotherm, what do you think?
Well, of course, it wouldn't be nearly as definitive as a good EEG.
But at least it'd give us some idea of what the antidote's doing to his blood flow.
And that would tell us if he's getting a positive reaction. Go ahead, David.
Let it set, then apply the chromotherm.
Mike, prepare an injection pad. 2/10 milligrams of a 1 to 5,000 solution of isoproterenol hydrochloride. Would you repeat that, please?
2/10 milligrams of a 1 to 5,000 solution of isoproterenol hydrochloride.
Ready with the antidote, Mike?
Roger.
All right, Mike.
The facial region should have changed color by now. There might be some kind of blockage.
EKG and heart rate's okay.
His respiration is still erratic. Mike, tilt his chin up and squirt the epinephrine mist into his mouth the next 3 times he inhales.
Roger.
That's better.
His face should be blue by now. There it is. Ed, can you get a good shot of Walt's hands?
Roger.
Peripheral circulation looks fine.
Your boy's looking good, Clay. He's all yours.
Ed, this is Clay Shedler. Can Walt hear you?
Roger, Houston. Walt, you read me.
I can hear you. Guess I went out, huh? Hey, this doesn't mean the rest of the mission will be scrubbed, does it?
Second check. Hello, Houston, Apollo. Walt's okay now. He wants to know if the mission is going to be scrubbed.
Well, we don't know yet, but we will soon.
Roger. They're working on it.
I have a feeling one of the trade-offs they're studying is Mike Carter.
He hung in there like a veteran, David. He may have saved Walt's life.
Pulse, temperature, and everything else normal. What are they waiting for?
I talked to Walt Emmons' wife. She wants you to know how grateful she is for what you did, the chance she took.
I'm glad it worked out.
Just hope it works out for Mike. You saw how upset he was. So did Mission Control.
Under the circumstances, I think almost anybody'd be upset.
Mrs. Carter, I think the only thing that upset Mike is the possibility that the mission might be aborted.
Craig, this is Houston, Dr. Shedler. I haven't had a chance to tell you yet, David. The problem in the limb was a fluorinated hydrocarbon in a purification canister.
Can it be corrected?
It already has been. Mike put in a fresh canister. I assume you still feel that Walt will recuperate faster if he stays in lunar orbit?
Yes, we do.
All right, that settles it. Apollo, this is Houston. The jury's back. I'm sorry about this, Walt, but we're gonna have to change the lineup. Since Ed has his EVA suit on board and he's checked out too, he goes in for you. You stay in the command module. It's Ed and Mike for separation landing at EVA. You got it?
Yeah, I got it, but I don't like it.
You get your chance. Ed, do you copy?
Roger, Houston.
Sorry Walt had to be bumped.
You really look sorry.
Mike?
Roger. We go for separation, landing, and EVA.
Retriever has landed.
Go! Roger, we copy you on the ground. You've got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.